It's so good to be here. And I have to tell you, that's a very loaded statement because I walked in at the very last moment. And some of you can relate to this. I had a wardrobe malfunction this morning. I'll just leave it at that, which required me to rush to the mall to purchase a new pair of shoes. So I accomplished all of that, raced here, didn't really have good directions on where I was going. I was rescued by a business student that I accosted in the parking lot, rolled my window down, yelling at him, "Hey, please come here, can you help me? I'm trying to get to Hudson Hall and I don't know where it is. I'm not sure where to park. Can you help me?" And he was the kindest, most helpful person there at the right moment, at the right time. I even said, "You've got to actually ride in my car with me. I know I'm a total stranger, and now I'm forcing you into my car. This could look like a, kidnapping or something, but trust me." And I gave him my history that I was also a graduate of UGA, and I told him what I was here for, and he was just the kindest student, and I gave him my card, and I hope he reaches out to me because I would love to help him get to his next step after he graduates. But so for that nameless student, thank you so much. And if you hear this story, you'll know who I'm talking about. And just give him a high five because he represents all that the University of Georgia is. So Grady graduates, it's been a very busy year, full of the usual stresses of your final year, plus additional centennial activities. And you've probably barely had time to breathe, and you probably rushed like me just to make it here today. So I think I want to give you a gift you could really use right now. You're going to continue to receive words of wisdom and advice from all directions, but when do you ever have time to reflect on this moment in your life, the knowledge and advice you've received? You probably don't even need to hear another word of advice. So I'm thinking for the next 12 minutes, I think I might just invite you all to quietly ponder this moment, how you got here, what your next steps will be, who you're taking out tonight to celebrate, who inspired you, and then also to personally thank those for helping you get here. So, that's my speech. The rest is up to you. Just take some quiet time for about 12 minutes and then we'll be done. Well, I know that we might have gone viral with that as probably the shortest convocation speech ever. That was my icebreaker, just a little something to wake up the room. But believe me, I honestly thought about doing just that. But I actually do have a few more words to say. And that kind of reductionist approach is in total keeping with my UGA experience, because when I was a student here, the SGA election was won by the student who said, "If you elect me president of the SGA, I will disband the SGA." And guess who won the election? Yes, and so we did temporarily disband it, and it was a reflection of the fact that at the time, the organization needed some work, and that was a student's brilliant way of bringing that to the forefront. I'm not suggesting that anyone do that, but sometimes less can be more. So, speaking of that, I promise not to keep you too long. After all, the future is waiting. So when I accepted the invitation to deliver the convocation address, I asked Dean Davis, what does the role entail? What's expected of me? And his answer was, have fun. Not surprising from Dean Davis, right? So we will have fun, and you can blame whatever happens on this stage on our inimitable dean. One of the most amiable people I have ever met, and such a gift to Grady. Aside from making it a fun experience, I have some other goals that, I want your help with. I'd love for us to trend on Twitter for a little while, if that's possible. I know everybody's got their mobile devices in hand, so I don't know if is there a hashtag for our event today? Can we make one up on the spot? How does that work? We can go hashtag Grady Convocation, hashtag UGA Unboxing Grady Alumni. Another goal of mine is to celebrate our winter graduates as the class that closes the centennial celebration. You are the graduates of the centennial year. Our convocation today is the last official centennial program of 2015, so you are twice part of Grady history. Give yourselves a big hand. And thirdly, we're nearing the end of the year, and it's the holiday season, and tonight happens to be the opening night of one of the most highly anticipated movies in the galaxy, Star Wars: The Force Awakens. I know a little bit something about that. And as we take stock in our accomplishments and setbacks and make promises and plans for the future and celebrate the spirit of giving, graduates, your future awakens. You younglings have completed your Jedi training, and you are now ready to do battle, to conquer every opportunity that comes your way. But first, let me just tell you what an honor it is for me to stand before this distinguished assembly. My first visit to UGA occurred when I was 13 years old in junior high school in Columbus, Georgia. And I was copy editor of the school newspaper. And English was always my favorite subject. And when I discovered journalism, I realized I got to combine my love for writing with my curiosity about the world. So at age 13, I was officially a journalist. And our newspaper staff was very competitive. We strived to be the best in the state, and I remember the exciting road trip we took to the Georgia Scholastic Press Association conference, and it was held at UGA. And my junior high school was one that most of the rich kids attended, and I was far from rich. At the time that I was in high school, schools across the state were barely integrated, and I was the only black student on the newspaper staff. And it was a rather intimidating situation, but not for reasons that you might think. You see, when I rode the school bus home every day, and I was surrounded by other kids from my neighborhood, I was actually bullied by people who I thought were my friends. And I will never forget this, obviously not, I'm talking about it decades later. One girl in particular insulted me for having the audacity to step out and be different, to dare to pursue my dreams, to go where no one with my background had gone before, even if it meant being the only little black kid on the newspaper staff. Surprisingly, but not really, I found friendship among those students who had similar interests as me. The editor of the newspaper and I became close friends, and we stayed in touch even after we went to different high schools. But when we went on our exciting junior high school trip to UGA, my life really changed, because it was here on this campus that I witnessed for the first time a successful television newswoman who looked like me. Monica Kaufman happened to give the keynote address at that year's GSPA. And that's when I knew my love for writing and words and storytelling and curiosity about the world could lead to a successful career. So when I graduated from high school, UGA was the first university on my list, and my years here were just wonderful, a cherished part of my life, and I hope it's been that way for all of our graduates. So that's just a little bit about how I got here. And the belief, I have to tell you, that my professors had in me, the school administrators showed in me, and the leadership opportunities that gave me confidence, it's It's actually served me very well in my professional life. So I hope that you've taken the opportunity to get involved in campus and use those interactions with your fellow classmates, even those challenging ones, because you learn so much from those experiences. Now, preparing for today, I made a couple of mistakes up front. The first mistake I made was to ask Karen if I could look at previous convocation addresses. So I go onto YouTube, and you know what happens when you go onto YouTube? You think you're going there for one video, and then an hour later you watched about 10. And the more I watched, the more intimidated I became, because last year's speaker was fantastic. Then I'm watching Denzel Washington give a graduation address. I'm watching Oprah Winfrey give a graduation address, Deepak Chopra, and I thought, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? I'm not going to be good at this. Worked myself into a frenzy, but you know what? I could have easily gone the BuzzFeed route with a topic for today. 3 mistakes I made that you don't want to, 10 steps to success, the ultimate listicle to life after graduation. As it turns out, spending a little time on YouTube actually did lead me to my topic today, because I found inspiration from an unlikely source. Was having a conversation with some friends who happen to have a toddler, and they mentioned to me that their 3-year-old is a big consumer of YouTube videos. And I was really impressed by that and kind of shocked. I thought, wow, this little millennial wannabe has gotten an early start. So they began to tell me about these videos that do nothing but unbox toys. Shortly after our conversation, I came across a New York Times article about the very same thing. The author was a mom who couldn't understand her child's fascination in watching these extremely mundane videos. Fascinated me even more. So I decided to watch some of these unboxing videos that toddlers have fascinated to the tune of 20 to 40 million views. That's a Super Bowl audience. That's astronomical in the world of television and video viewing. May seem like a totally random topic, but in fact, awesome with possibility. And that's how creativity takes flight, through random connections that lead to bigger ideas. So perhaps you've heard of this phenomenon called unboxing. It started in the tech world where, it could be a new computer or some techie gear, and the person would be videotaped taking it out of the box and talking you through all the specs and instructions. And it's really caught on, and now it's all about unboxing these little toys on camera. And there's one woman in particular who has really mastered it. She has more than 40 million people watching her videos, and you never see her face. You only see her hands and the egg or the box that she's opening up to reveal a little toy surprise inside. She's permeated the homes, the hearts, minds of millions of families around the world. And because of the biggest media phenomenon this year, to the tune of more than 209 million views on YouTube, her life has taken a dramatic change. She started her life as a babysitter, and now she's a millionaire by simply putting on a little camera and opening up a box and talking about what's inside. She's originally from Brazil. I think she lives in upstate New York now. And she understands toddlers, and they in turn have taken note of something she does that's very simple yet powerful. It appeals to our pre-wired instincts for discovery, for anticipation, things that heighten multiple senses at once. And kids actually know which unboxing videos are better than others. The simpler, the better. They don't like overly produced and overly commercialized videos, keeping it simple. So here are some things I've learned by watching these videos and thinking about life from a toddler's perspective. Keep it simple. You remember Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood? Some of you may not have grown up with him, but I did. And he was kind of the unboxer of his day. He kept it simple. He talked in this very mundane voice, but it was because he was showing respect for the young children who were his audience. He talked on their level. One-syllable words carry an energy with them that supersedes translation because we can act them out. Think of how powerful these words sound, even if you don't know the English language. If you were trying to communicate one of these words, you'd be successful. Read, laugh, cry, smile, proud, go, teach, share, clean, write, throw, love, hate, touch, feel, taste, powerful. Take time to anticipate something new. Imagine how much happier we'd all be if we could harness the hopefulness of a child. Embrace the simplicity of finding joy from new discoveries. A book, a poem, a box, moving to a different city or state, starting a new job, getting a new boss. Replace fear with anticipation. It's all about our attitudes. And you'll notice more details and you'll appreciate everything a lot more. And speaking of noticing details, if you go back and watch these videos, you'll notice the sound of the paper, the look of her nails with cute little flowers drawn on them. The brain of a toddler is probably the most advanced learning machine we can imagine. Think about how much they're absorbing and learning and doing at that age, synthesizing everything with tremendous speed. And those kinds of connections help us make decisions in the future. So do take time to notice the details in your own lives. Situations you might today breeze through without much thought may become a lot more interesting and telling if we slow down and notice the details all around us. Never judge an egg by its shell. You never know what's inside until you take time to explore, and that goes for people. Unboxing is about exploration, taking time to get to know what's inside, who's inside. Take time to get to know the people in your life. Judge people by what they do, not by how they look. Toddlers don't care that this woman speaks with an accent. They don't even care that they can't see her face. They care about what she's going to show them and how she does it. They never have a chance to see her, but she's consistent, she's predictable and reliable, and that's what counts. Be open to other cultures and people who may not look or sound like you. Remember, when you're open to learning all that you can about the world around you, that should include learning about other cultures. Maybe that's why she has the most views of any YouTube channel, because toddlers like that she sounds different and she's doing something different. So those are just a few life lessons we can learn if we think about it from the viewpoint of a toddler. But what about the unboxing host? How'd she get to be so successful? Well, she knows her audience. I mentioned she was a former babysitter. So she'd done her research. She knew what young children wanted. She says what she's going to do, then she does it. The best presentations always start at the end, a summary up front about what is about to happen. And that's exactly what she does on her videos. Be descriptive. Share plenty of details, but again, she keeps it simple. Follow your gut. This woman followed her gut to an idea, again, that's made her a millionaire. And treating people with respect. She doesn't talk down to her audience. She meets them at her own level. She also realizes that content is king. Pictures are powerful, and there's a story out there just waiting to be told. And she uses a variety of senses to reach her audience. She's using signaling, knowing that people learn in different ways, so she's using verbal and visual and physical signs to reach her audience. And probably the most subtle thing I noticed when I watched one of her videos is that she shows empathy. A simple statement that shows you know how someone else might feel when they're going through something difficult or when they may be facing disappointment can go a really long way. Even something as simple as, "This should have a toy and candy inside," which was actually her quote, and I thought that was pretty powerful. So what does anything I've said have to do with you at this moment in your life? You know, the older we get, the more logical we become, the less inquisitive we become, the less risk takers we become, the more vulnerable we become, the more insecure we become. You'd think that it would work the opposite way, but think about toddlers. They are fearless. You know, who else could lie down in the middle of the floor of any place and throw a temper tantrum because they really don't care what other people think? We have to be more like that at times. Be ready to embrace the moment. And if mistakes and failures are tolerated, that's a good sign of a creative and supportive environment. So don't be afraid to make mistakes, and don't be afraid of the setbacks you're going to encounter. Because I promise you this, those of you today who've had to really struggle to get here, who've had to endure hardship and setbacks, and those of you who will endure hardships and setbacks, you are gaining experience that is so valuable. You understand the importance of empathy. You can approach situations with greater confidence and greater knowledge of possible outcomes because you know you will sometimes fail, and you know what failure feels like, and you know that you might fall down, but as the song says, you will get back up. And that kind of knowledge is unbeatable. I'm reminded of my friend Manny Ruiz when I asked several people what was the worst thing that ever happened in their career and what did they learn from it. And here's Manny's story. He said, "The worst thing that ever happened to me was getting repeatedly rejected for full-time reporting work at the Miami Herald. Had I not been rejected, I would have been in a dead-end career and I would never have ventured into becoming a media entrepreneur, selling one of my first companies to a publicly traded corporation and building the Hispanicized event and Dime Media that are far more than I would have done as a reporter. That rejection stung me because I excelled at my craft, but it was God's way of leading me into something more impactful and fulfilling." So that is the unboxing of my friend Manny. He was wrapped up in rejection and had to slowly open himself to possibilities. And now he has more success than he can even handle. So I want to end with a little unboxing of my own, and I'd like for two ambassadors to come up and assist me. This is just a little, having a little fun with the day. So I, like many of us, grew up with the Star Wars saga, and you graduates, you know, we talked about twice making history, but, you know, we're having convocation also on the day that many of you will probably be going to see this movie. You know, but and watching and growing up with Star Wars, I realized that the characters and the storylines go much deeper than sci-fi adventures. There are life lessons throughout the galaxy. And here are a few that I want to leave with you. So you can open the boxes up and come closer to me so that I can talk and do this at the same time. Okay. So, and Karen's probably like shivering, what in the world is going on? So the first thing that I will talk to you about, and I'll just talk about them as they come out. So one of the things that you'll need, and it's represented by this guy. So he's the new guy, and I think his name is Finn. But this is about authenticity. Be yourself. You are you. Be comfortable in your own skin because you are uniquely made and you're here for a reason. You may not know why it is right now, but in time it will be revealed. And this new guy goes on a journey of self-discovery. He's very, very insecure. And you're going to get better and smarter and wiser. But the smartest thing you can do is to trust yourself, because you're still trying to figure out just who you are. You also want to have, come on over as well, armor, because you got to be armed for the future. And what better way to arm yourself? You are Jedi. You are Jedi. So make sure you arm yourself, represented by our lightsaber, and represented by the Millennium Falcon. Best armor, knowledge. Keep learning and exploring the world around you, whether it's traveling overseas or simply getting to know your neighbors. And I kind of think the latter is probably the toughest to do these days. We tend to take for granted the people who are right in our own galaxy. So think of how circumstances might be really different if we took time to get to know those folks that are around us. And then lastly, we'll call this one Amor and Amigos. And who can guess who represents friendship best in the Star Wars galaxy? Chewbacca. Yes, Chewbacca. He was the trusted friend of Han Solo, dependable, trustworthy. Be that kind of friend, and you will be reciprocated. But remember, Chewbacca was also very intelligent. Blind allegiance will take you to the dark side quicker than anything. So, to the 2015 graduates at this winter convocation, as you step into your role as alumni of this great institution, remember you are not alone. Like the Jedi Order, who, according to Wikipedia, or we might call it Wookiepedia, comprises teachers, philosophers, scientists, physicians, diplomats, and warriors who value knowledge and wisdom above nationality. That sounds a lot like a university to me. You're about to enter the future of your own galaxy. Grady is with you. UGA is with you. Your family is with you, as they have been every step of the way. And wait for it, the Force is with you. Thank you very much.